Well, I'm honored to be here today, and I appreciate the opportunity to spend this time with you talking about something that's very dear to my heart and something I'm very passionate about, which is water, nature, water's life, the river of life, and all those things. And as Mary mentioned, I'm the director, founder of the Wild Resiliency Institute. And I think of wild resiliency as it's the love of life. It's when your heart cracks open to life and to yourself. And it's that piece that allows us to get through the hard times in life. So it's not about bouncing back so much as it is about how do we move forward in life when we can't see our way through. And I think that's sort of the times we're in right now. Anybody concerned about the future? You know, I appreciated hearing the short piece I heard in there about human trafficking. You know, the challenges we face are so huge. Can anybody hear me okay? Yes. Okay. So I've got a presentation here that I'm going to sort of blast through, if that's okay, because it's we don't have as much time as quite as I thought, and I'm just trying to squeeze it in anyway, so I'm going to cut some stuff. I'm going to sort of speed through and just talk fast. Does that work? Okay. Now, it's my intention to be respectfully provocative and inspirational. So, what I'd like you to be able to leave with is a stronger sense and feeling for connection to who you are, and to the mystery of who you are, and the wonder of who you are. Would that be okay? Yes. Yeah? A little bit of sense for a resource inside you can feel and have connection with when you need it, and part of that being water. Okay? So part of my intention would be that the provocative piece, if you will, has to do with, I believe it's time that we re-envision what it is to be a human being. Now, when I learned of the invitation here to come to Presbyterian Church, one of the first things I thought about as I prepared for this presentation was John Muir, whose father, patron saint of the ecology movement in this country, right? Whose father was a itinerant Presbyterian preacher, as described sometimes, and a stern man. Now, I felt very comfortable walking into this building because I grew up with my father as a preacher, running around church buildings and church socials and those kinds of things. So, you know, I have a lot of identity with John Muir and appreciation for what he brings to us. And I'll talk just a little bit more about that story later. But, so when I talk about navigating the river of life and restoring our future through water, what I really intend to, this thing about story, and I know I'm sort of standing in your way here, I'll try and move around a bit. If at any time you can't hear me, just, sort of hold your ears up and I'll hopefully notice. Or hold your hands up. If you can do your ears, that's good too. It's not as comfortable maybe. And I'm going to really try to blow through this fast because I'd like you to have a couple of experiences before we finish this off. And that's more important than the cognitive stuff we'll do. Okay, so but the idea of story is really important to the sense of identity, right? To who we tell ourselves we are. Is Larry Glover or, is Mary or whatever it is. And to the collective story that we tell ourselves. What's our place of belonging on the earth? And that is part of what's up for us collectively. Let's see if I can... Okay, here we go. So this is me and my wife actually on the Grand Canyon. And she's right up front here. She's buried by the water. She's on the bow of the boat. She's hanging over. And the reason they do that, that's her job up there, is because you hit those big waves and it just turns the boat right upside down. And so she tries to hang out there and put some weight on there. We're in this big rapid and hitting some big waves. I'm about to get humbled, but you'll see that in a little bit. But right here, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I'm just doing great. I'm on the line, right? But I'm a student of water. I'm a lover of water. Nature has saved my life. I was suicidal when I was in the 3rd grade. It was turning to nature and learning to see myself differently and my identity differently that gave me a sense of hope and belonging and place in life. Quick Baldo cartoon. Any cartoon readers in here? You get Baldo on the paper? So, yeah, this is this fellow is in love with a lady who has an autoimmune disease, and the only way he can see her or be close to her is she shows up in this little robot kind of thing that has a screen on it, a picture of her, rolls around with wheels and so on. But she's personally confined to her bedroom at home. So I'm going to read it because somebody may have a hard time. First one, you're mad at your parents. Why? They're always talking about sodium levels and bladder infections and fluids. I don't want to talk about that anymore. What do you want to talk about? I want to talk about living. Okay? So there's a lot that we could talk about today in short time that we have about water or whatever all those things are. And the circumstances, from my perspective, are dire. We're going to touch on that just ever so briefly. But where we're really going, and I think where we need to go personally and collectively, is we've got to look at where we want to go into the future. So that's the thing that rafting teaches me. If there's a rock in the middle of the river, in a rapid, and I'm staring at that rock, I'm going to get it. You got to look for where you want to go. And so in this day and era, with all the challenges we face, we want to put our sights and our vision on where it is that we want to go. And this is the Lauren Isley quote. If there's magic on this planet, it is contained in water. We'll take just a very brief look at some of the physics of water here. Water is this incredible, I'm getting a little slow, substance, right? Isn't this a great photo? Excuse me, my allergies are sort of got me dripping here. Let's see, 60-mile-an-hour winds today along the I-40 corridor. So a little kid running through the water. Anybody remember playing in water as your kid? You know, it's like we love water, don't we? We grow up one way or another, even if we're afraid of it in some way. It has a sort of magic and mastery and magic to it. And it's all a question of story. This is from Thomas Berry. Beautiful book called The Great Work of Our Era. It's all a question of story. We are in trouble just now because we do not have a good story. We are in between stories. The old story, the account of how the world came to be and how we fit into it, is no longer effective. Yet we have not learned the new story. And so that's part of what I want to talk about, is a new story of what it is to be a human being. And I'm not going to spend time with this. The cycle of water, we know it rains and snows, water goes underground into the ocean. It just as a reference, distribution of the Earth's water sources, most of it's in oceans, almost 97%. Less than 1%, well, just over 1% of the distribution of the Earth's water is available to us outside of oceans and glaciers and so on, in terms of ice and lakes and that. So this is the oxygen or water molecule. Oxygen and 2 hydrogens, right? So H2O. The story that we sort of have, that we've come into this world with, and the gift of Western culture in part, is that it's been able to look at the universe through this lens of breaking it down and understanding it from this kind of perspective. It is, if you will, in some ways, the fruits of eating the tree of knowledge, in the sense that it allowed us to name things, to distinguish this from that, and to cut and splice and split. And fascinating enough, these two hydrogen atoms have a physics principle in which one part of what's going on for them is an attraction. It's sort of holding them there. And there's another piece that is throwing them off. So this is only true in water. This is part of what water is, a unique substance on the planet. We once thought of it as an element, right, until we were able to split it apart like this. So why this is important from a sort of chemistry and physics perspective is it's this quality and piece that gives it the ability to be solid, gas, and liquid. And we'll play with that just a little bit more later. However, this is from Carl Sagan, physicist, cosmologist, astronomer. Our planet, our society, and we ourselves are built of star stuff. These two hydrogen molecules are born out of dying, exploding stars. That's where they come from. Okay, we're going to talk more about this too. So they come out of these atoms of hydrogen and oxygen came out of the Big Bang and are still being born out of these dying, exploding stars. This is who we're made of physiologically. Major problems in the world are the result of the difference between how nature works and the way people think. Does that ring any bells? Sound familiar in some way? I learned when I was a kid that I was an object to be sort of used and moved around, and I learned to see myself as an object. Most of us, one way or another, learn to see ourselves as objects. And I believe one of the worst things we can commit against ourselves and other people is to see them as objects. My wife, when she woke up this morning, was not the same person this morning as she was when she went to bed. We all change, right? And when we lock each other into that kind of fixicity, that lockness, it's like seeing the world and putting the world into an ice cube of solidity. And when we do that to ourselves, we steal from ourselves the mystery and the wonder of who we truly are. Here's Woody Allen. Nature and I are two. I've taken thousands of people camping over the years, and I've taken a lot of Marriott hotel campers out. And so it's okay to be a Marriott hotel camper. But here's another great Woody Allen quote I love. I love nature. I just don't want to get any of it on me. It's what we've failed to... Whoops, there I am, humbled.
She's in there too, right?
This is her right here.
Yeah, she's always in the water.
Well, yeah, she's in the water more than I am. But, so the boat flipped, we're upside down. And this, I think, is an image of where we're heading collectively. We are sort of heading over the cliff. We don't know how to stop the train, right? I want to talk a little bit about how we can do that personally, what we can do, and where that shift comes. Can you read this one? This this graffiti here says, and this is water, of course, coming up on the side of it says, "I don't believe in global warming." And of course over here, this thing is, the chart's going up, the odometer, speedometer, whatever, from glitch to problem, bordering on disaster. Some people, they're a minority, that still debate whether global warming, climate destabilization is a better word for it. I'm going to say that again, climate destabilization. We can no longer expect what the climate will be. It's not going to be as predictable anymore. But there's no debate about whether or not the climate's changing. Okay, it really is getting hotter quicker. There's no longer any doubt that our climate is changing. This is from a UNM climate professor. Last year in New Mexico, the worst fire year on record. It's coming. our forests are going to burn. I spent 8 years with Forest Service as a forest firefighter. And I know they're going to burn. So we're looking at more and more of this. This is the March 19th, 2013 drought monitor. And the darker and the more red it is, the worse the drought. Most of New Mexico is in severe, extreme, and exceptional drought. And you can see this. I want you to compare that to last year's. So this is last year's, March 20th. This is March 19th, 2013. Now this is just 1 year apart. You know, we can't predict 20, 30 years on 1 year's difference. But this is the trend. The Southwest, there's a great book here that I recommend, William Du Bois from Santa Fe, called The Great Aridness. If you want to look at Southwestern climate and what's going to happen here, he believes, and many do, that the Southwest is going to feel is one of the places on the planet that will feel this first. Okay. Okay, deadly water. You see the young lady drinking water out of, we could talk a lot about water in third world countries, and the women in particular are carrying such an unequal plight of that, having to often walk for water for miles, often being subject to rape and abuse while they do that, or young children going to get water. More than 1 billion people lack safe access to water. Diarrhea from drinking contaminated water is a leading cause of illness and death among infants and children in the world. About 1.8 billion children die each year from diarrheal diseases. More children die from diarrheal illness such as chlorea and dysentery than from HIV, AIDS, or malaria combined. Water, and of course the Pentagon has been saying for years that water will be the source of the wars of the future, more so than oil. This is a piece science from Australia, having extreme droughts and floods and so on. But this one says mass extinction. This is brush fires, and this is severe drought in the next 100 years. So what we can expect from climate change, and this is only about the climate, increased temperatures, increased evapotranspiration, shift in precipitation, more is rain, less is snow. Sounds familiar, right? That's what they're predicting for here. Changes in precipitation intensity and timing. We're going to get the same. More is sudden storms and sudden rains, running off quickly, not as much moisture soaking into the ground. Potential changes in precipitation and amount, increased overall variability. Some years wet, some years drier. So climate destabilization. How are we doing on time? Okay. Just going to run a little brief video, and is what he mentioned. This is an awareness test. So just follow the instructions. I think it's up loud enough you can hear it. I'll turn it up if it needs to. Okay. No pass fail. Everybody passes.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Loud enough?
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
See everybody see him?
Yeah.
Oh, right around the corner there. Everybody catch him? No? A moonwalking dancing bear. Should I play it once more just so you can see that? We'll try to catch the last half of it. Right. Go back just a little bit. He's on the left, right there. Right here. You're welcome.
So obviously that's we're not noticing.
Yeah, it's all about perception, right? And what we notice and what we don't notice. We're wired as human beings to notice what we believe already. To pay attention to what confirms the world as we impose our worldview upon it. So, one of the qualities I believe of wild resiliency, if you will, is perceptual agility. It's the willingness and the ability, it's a courageous willingness to step outside our own belief system and look at ourselves, right, differently, and look at the world differently. And that's part of this provocative piece of what I'm inviting you into is, what does it mean to be a human being? So we're going to move into that emphasis now, sort of the river of well-being, wellness, heartiness, and wholeness. And here's Albert Einstein. Look deeply into nature and then you will understand everything better. George Washington Carver says, anything will talk to you if you love it enough. Okay? So we're going to love water here and see how it might speak to us a little bit. And I don't have my... Okay, great. So this is a slide, and I'm sorry, I apologize, it's so small, because I know it's hard to see a little bit, but this is a leaf structure. Notice the veins, this sort of brachial pattern. This is a human heart, blood vessels, and this is an Amazonian river. All have that same, what's called dendritic pattern, as do tree roots, as do tree branches, right? This is a fundamental pattern in life. It goes back to the very early times, what nature did, however we attribute first cause to and structure and so on, it finds these patterns and it reuses them. But this idea that we're not separate from nature, I assert even we belong, we're not a mistake, We're not a mistake. Of nature, we're not an aberration. Our evolutionary history could not have been other than it was to get us to this point in time. We had to go through this developmental phase of believing that we were separate from nature. Now the journey is back home. The journey, and water is an image of wholeness through which we can help restore both who we are personally and collectively. Water cuts rock. One of the softest, if you will, substances, flowing things on the planet, cuts the hardest thing on the planet. The Grand Canyon. And how does it do that? Here's water coming down a river, and it hits the boulder, and what's its secret? Picks up sand, picks up, there's a lot of that corrosion, sort of corrosive kind of forces and so on. But it's also, in doing this, what it's doing is saying yes to, it's not saying no to the boulder. It's not saying, no, you're not there. It says, yes, you're there, and I'm going to stay true to who I am. It's an important thing. It says yes to what is, and I am staying true to who and what I am. And so it just rolls on around and keeps coming, and over time, it's the Grand Canyon. Or it's this is out of the Grand Canyon, actually. This is a little slot canyon there. Yeah. Lao Tzu, of the Way, ancient Chinese poet, roughly contemporary with Christ's figure, says, men are born soft and supple. Dead, they're stiff and hard. Men are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they're brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. Whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. The stiff and hard will be broken. The soft and yielding will prevail. It's this principle, again, of saying yes to what is, staying true to yourself. But now, does anybody besides me have places in your life you get rigid? A little fixed? I'm the only one? Oh, good, thank you. Yeah, so we all have those places. So what would it be? You came into this world, all of us did, some 90% water. Some people say aging is just dehydration. You want to pour you some water? So, and then as we age, we get down to, into the 70s or whatever it is. But what would it be? Some part of your nature is truly, we are dimensional beings, some part of your nature is water. Better than half. Roughly the same percentages as the planet Earth. The viscous fluid in your eyeballs through which you're looking out at me at, in which you see each other, is how old? I mean the water in there. 4.5 billion years old. There's roughly no more water on the planet now than there was when it was formed. Now there's been some influx of asteroids, ice asteroids and so on, and people used to think that a majority of the water came from space, but we now know that's not true. This is some research by the HeartMath Institute. Write that one down if you want to do a Google or research. Wonderful resource. This is the heart's, they're demonstrating the magnetic field of the heart, which can extend out from the body some 12 to 15 feet that we can measure, versus the electromagnetic field of the brain, which extends out maybe 3 feet. Okay. So in the heart being this organ of liquidity, if you will, of working with liquid and so on. So it's like Kabir says, Persian poet, millions can see the raindrop in the ocean, but only 1 in a million can see the ocean in a raindrop. We're like 2 raindrops looking at each other. We're all water. There's only one water on the planet. The rain and the snow give birth to the ocean, even as the ocean gives birth to the raindrop. Where does a river start? Where does it end? It's inside of us now. We expire a quart or more of water a night. So let me I'm going to leave you with a poem and then we're going to do an exercise. I'm going to just mention Small Change is how I got here through the connection. I'm on the board for smallchange.org. It's a nonprofit that provides oral hydration salts and other stuff like this through non-governmental organizations for relief efforts. And the idea is take your pocket change, save it, send it to us, put up a jar here if you like, and 10 cents will save a person's life for, because they get so dehydrated and so on. So it makes a difference, your change. Albert Einstein, a human being is part of the whole, called by us the universe, limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a prison, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons close to us. Our task must be for all humanity and the whole of nature in its beauty. That's who we are.
Is that restory?
Yes, that is to re-story. That's to tell a different story of purpose and meaning and belonging. One planet, one atmosphere. There's really only one flesh on the planet. It's just getting circulated. We too will be circulated. Poet John Socrates says, all the things you thought were important aren't. I'm thinking of just the culture that we live in and how we've gotten to where we are and our emphasis on material things and judging each other by the cars that we drive or the clothes we wear. All the things you thought were important aren't. All that matters is what you love. And what you love is who you are. And where you are is who you are. And who you are is where you will be when death comes to take you across the river. You can't avoid the journey, but you can wake up now and see where you've been and where you're going. Beautiful, huh? Poet David Walcott says, the time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door. And each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat, give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. Feast on your life. What happens to your system, to your sense of identity, if you let in the mystery and the wonder of your water nature? This belonging, this sense of the raindrop always going back to the ocean, and the ocean always giving birth to you as a raindrop, so that there's no separation between you and the ocean. There's only the experience of that separation, if you choose it. In the way that a wave on the surface of the ocean might say, oh, I'm a wave, I'm not the ocean. That's what we do. And this is to restore ourselves. So, one experience, two, if we can. I'm going to leave my contact up information real quickly in case anybody wants it. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you an article on what I call the call of wild resiliency within, which just takes some of this stuff a little further. Everybody get a little bit of water in your glass. Everybody heard of the idea of mindfulness?
Oh, yes.
Anybody drive here today and can not know how they got here? I mean, do you all remember the trip? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. Yesterday. Yeah, so I'm just going to share this practice that I have and invite you into it, and we'll share it here together. But when I get up in the mornings, one of the first things I do is I have my glass of water. But when I turn on the tap, I look to do so with awareness and gratitude of what's coming out of that tap is snow and rain, and it's ocean, if you will, in this form. And in my case, it's coming up out of a well, right? But it's that water that's been recycled through all different plants and animals, and now is coming into me and will continue on this journey. And through this water of life, through this 4.5 billion years old substance, I can connect with all of life. I can commune with all of life. When I allow myself to take a sip of water with mindfulness and be present to it and let it in with just that simple awareness that it connects me with all of life. So with that, here's to us and the whole family of life. Okay, let me leave you with one final thing. If we had more time, we'd do this physically with having you stand up and move and so on. But I want to leave you with this image. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable for a moment. And think of some place in your life where you might feel stuck, frozen, rigid, or perhaps you feel unboundaried and too light and too airy. Or perhaps you need to bring more of that in. Water can be gas. Water can be solid. And it can be liquid. Is there a place in your life you'd like to bring in more fluidity? The capacity and the ability to flow better around something that you're encountering that's in your path, or wherever it might be in your life. And now take this sort of emerging awareness and knowledge of yourself as water and bring that gift to that place in your life that you would like this new resource. And imagine yourself doing it differently in some way, or at least applying this awareness of what it is to flow, or to have lightness, or to create boundaries, or to be solid inside yourself some way. And I think with that, I will close and say thank you very much.
Thank you.